Hi, Cousin Donald. Well, we've just cleaned up the international scene. You're putting together the free nations in the world and the greatest defence pact there ever has been, and you're keeping America and the free world safe for the foreseeable future. Well done, Donald. Well, let's move on now. Let's look at your domestic enemies. We hate them as much as you do. We hate the Democrats and all their mealy-mouthed nonsense. We hate those lefties. And what we've done with the international scene, we've carefully avoided that ghastly bureaucracy in the UN. You just form your own team on a disused army base. You've got privacy, you've got secrecy. You can all talk to each other. And you exclude the media networks you don't want. So you've cleaned up your enemies in that sense. And also, you've set an international charter. And what you've really done is build a wall around the good nations, the way you're building the wall internally. Now, let us look internally. Externally, you're already the greatest international president the world's ever seen. If you can bring that about, I think it's a piece of cake, not hard to do. Can't see any reason why all those nations wouldn't feel far more secure as a block of 44 or 89 or whatever you classify your free nations as nations 1, 2 or 3 on who have pacts with the US. It doesn't conflict with any other pacts they've got. So I think it's pretty good. We think it's pretty good. Now let's look nationally. Now, if you want to be up with the FDRs and one of the greatest domestic presidents ever, Donald, what you have to do is you've got to bring about true fairness in your society, not pseudo-fairness. Pseudo-fairness is the Democrats bleating on in cities like Chicago about, protecting people there who are illegal immigrants, sanctuary cities. What phony crap. It just means they're giving criminals a place to hide, and they're hiding illegal immigrants. They're breaking the law on 2 counts. And if you've got 3,000 murders a year or something in Chicago, how can people like Rahm Emanuel, why don't they just resign because they're so embarrassed about their own poor performance? Now, leave that aside. Let's take a look at your inner cities and your poorest rural areas. How do we improve them rapidly? As I said in the previous video, the best way to improve a herd is to put new bulls into it. Whips it up pretty quickly. Now, what we've done internationally, why that can be tremendously successful, is we've avoided the bureaucracy. If you and your administration, like soldiers in the jungle, you're avoiding the machine gun posts that have always been there. You're taking an alternate pathway. Now, the single best thing you can do, and remember, your inner cities are not only a black eye for America itself, they're a black eye to the world. People from other countries can't believe that babies and little children are killed in the inner city by gangsters' bullets. We just can't believe it. It's such a black eye for the USA and the world. It makes you look like a backward nation, because that sort of stuff is a very, very rare occurrence in Australia or New Zealand or any of these smaller countries. And that's the other thing you've got to do. If you're CEO of the mightiest nation the world's ever seen, and CEO of the biggest business in the world, which is the United States, you don't get all your executives from the United States. You want to look outside, you want to look at the smaller nations and take outstanding people from there who've done outstanding things and put them on your team. I think, Donald, you have to enlarge your thinking there. But anyway, by the by, let's look back at the inner cities. The first and best thing you can do is improve education in the inner cities and your poorest rural areas. Why do we pick on education? Because all those poor people on welfare, all those people on drugs, they're really in a vicious cycle for which there is no hope. If you can give their children really great education, you give them hope for the future. Now, let's look at the last 3 prime ministers. Yourself, George Bush, Mr. Obama. You're all affluent people from affluent backgrounds. You all had great educations, great food, great dental care, etc., etc. And you all lived in safe places. Now, until you provide that equality of opportunity, not of outcome, because, Donald, outcome depends upon your individual talents, how hard you work, etc. But until you provide that equality of opportunity in your inner city, in your poorest places, you can't possibly be one of the greatest national presidents ever, because that is one of your number one jobs. As I think President Kennedy's ambassador to India said, that any society that doesn't look after its poorest and least advantaged citizens with great care is not a great society. I'm paraphrasing what he said, but it's basically what he said. Now, if you look at education, just the same with the United States, you've got this, in most places in the inner cities, you've got this sclerotic education bureaucracy full of left-wing teachers, got their lazy bums on the seat, turning out kids who are functional illiterates. Now, to turn this round is impossible. It's like buying a gigantic business that's run down, where the employees are resentful, where the ethos is poor. You can't turn that around. That's do not interact with established bureaucracies. They will sumo wrestle you to death. They can go on for years, or they'll energy vampire you to death. You don't do that. Just as with the Mutual Free Nations Defence Pact, what you do is you hop in with a new educational setup. Now, if you look at the best education of the US, I presume it's your top private schools, your top selective high schools in various cities. At university level, your Harvards, your Yales, your MITs, of course, they're the best. But they're your best national institutions. They're not your best international institutions. Your best international institutions are Silicon Valley, Amazon, Google, Facebook. They're the marvellous innovations that America's brought to the world. The mobile phone alone has lifted millions of people out of poverty. 40% of people in dire poverty 40 years ago, 10% now. So they're your best international educational institutions. They educate the world. Now those institutions are all sitting outside of America because of a massive company tax, and they can't bring their umpteen billions of dollars home. Surely you can work out a deal where they bring their billions of dollars home, the tax rate's up to you, where they can help you with your big long-term plans for infrastructure, which everyone heartily approves, but also with education. You say to them, you put an Amazon higher, Google higher, Facebook higher, get Bill Gates to put a high school. In every major deprived city in the nation. And those schools must be the best technical high schools in the world. Because if you put a school in with high standards, that immediately lifts the other schools around them. They've got to compete. Now, don't deal with that education bureaucracy yourself. Let it go on just like the United Nations. Let the current school system go on its own. Let these incredible firms because those firms have enormously high standards, let them put a top technical high school in every one of these deprived areas, and it's got to be in the very poorest suburbs of the land. I don't know how poor Watts is these days, but I remember the Watts riots when I was young. How wonderful for the residents of a poor and deprived area to have one of the best schools in the land in their suburb. And that school must be open to all the kids who live in all the kids from deprived backgrounds, but also it must be open to any terribly clever child anywhere in that state or the United States who wants to attend that high school, provided he or she can pass the rigorous examinations. They're landmark schools, and they alone will lift the inner cities enormously. And also, Cousin Donald, you're not interacting with the bureaucracy. Let Google and Amazon and Mark Zuckerberg and all those people, let them interact with the bureaucracy. They're smart, those big companies. That leaves you with time to do other things. Now, that system, once instituted, will be absolutely brilliant. And it hasn't cost the US government anything, apart from the fact you've encouraged those big firms to bring their money back and benefit the USA. I'm not an educationist, my friends and I, we're not educationists, but those landmark schools are terribly important. You have on your team Andrew Liveris, a brilliant man, who attended Brisbane State High School in Brisbane. Now, it is just that sort of school. It was located in West End, which is where a very large number of the Greek community lived, where average people lived, but because it was a selective high school, kids from all over Brisbane, which is 2 million people, and from all over Queensland came to that school because it was the best academic school in the state. I also attended that school, and 6 out of the top 25 students in the state were in my class. I wasn't one of the 6, by the way. But, you know, these schools are terribly important. All that affirmative action business doesn't do anyone any good at all. Just have landmark schools in everyone, and also too, in areas like the Appalachians, poor rural areas, they should have one top technical school with maths and physics and all that sort of thing, and probably one top liberal arts college. This will, they're not in competition with any other school in the land, this will just lift the hearts of the people who live in that areas, because their kids have got the opportunity to have the same sort of school education that you and George Bush and Barack Obama had. It's called fairness, Donald, and once you do that, you're already becoming outstanding. We have further thoughts on the matter. We'll leave this now and talk to you about it later on. Thank you very much for listening.